From the center of the galaxy, this is ForceCenter, a show about Star Wars, pop culture, and the ultimate adventure, life itself. I'm Ken Napzok.
I'm Joseph Scrimshaw. And Ken, did you just eat some granola? Because I just ate some granola.
Yeah, I did.
Okay.
Do I have granola on my beard?
No, you have granola throat. Which is a thing that sometimes I just ate a granola bar before speaking, and I can hear it.
Well, my favorite thing is going to be in about 13 minutes when part of it is still there and shoots back up into disgusting.
Of the granola. Well, we better get this episode done. We got a ticking clock. This is a stakes. We always have a ticking clock. When will the granola come back?
When will it come back? We're doing Star Wars questions today. We got a great question we're going to get to. As always, what a munch. Today's podcast is brought to you by our merch shop on Fourth Wall. Check out our merch store. Pick up a t-shirt to help support the show. Represent ForceCenter out in the galaxy, or get something ahead of Star Wars Celebration next year. It's not too soon to plan. And let us know if you want some specific items that aren't on there. We can always add them. You can go to forcecenter-shop.fourthwall.com. Forcecenter-shop.fourthwall.com. ForceCenter granola bars. Not yet. Not yet.
We'll get there. Little tiny lightsabers on the packaging that you can eat. All sorts of different colors, different flavors. Beautiful. Marketing geniuses we are. We're also building to a goal on old Patreon. We were very lucky to reach the goal that we set of getting to 407 new paid patrons. Not new, getting to a total of 407 paid patrons by the time of the release of the film, The Mandalorian and Grogu. Thank you to everyone who made that happen. We're now building to it. Our next goal of 415. They're very low tiers, so if you can join us and help us keep the show going and become part of the community, that would be fantastic. You can find out more at patreon.com/ForceCenter.
Indeed. As we said, this is our Star Wars questions. Now, normally we take a couple. We're just going to say, be honest, when you make it a feature film like you are, or, working 17 jobs like we all are, some days we maybe don't have as long. So we're going to have one big question today, Joseph.
Yes, one big question, and this is it's a great question, and it's a very timely and fun question. It's also one question, so I can go vote. So it's very civic. It's very civic-minded that this is going to be a slightly shorter episode of Cues of the Force. So we put out a call for questions on Patreon. We still got a bunch of great ones from a little while back. There's my granola throat. But we got this one very recently from Patreon member Brian Babcock, and it is so hot. It's a hot question, Ken. It's of the moment, and we thought, why not take one that's hot? So here we go. Here's a hot question from Brian Babcock. Hello there, ForceCenter fam. Quick question after my second viewing of Mando and Grogu. So Din says he has to kill those that removed his helmet. I'm curious, do we know if that's specific to seeing his face, or just those that ordered his helmet removed? I also see a lot of people think Embo saw Din's face, but I'm pretty sure he had left the room before the helmet got removed. And Din's vengeance seemed to be solely focused on the twins due to them being the ones to shame him. What are your thoughts? Oh, I got a lot of thoughts, surprisingly, Ken. And this helmet scene seems to be something that a lot of folks are discussing and feeling strongly about. So we're going to kind of break this down, I think, point by point. And I think the first stuff that I'm interested in talking about is just the real practical realities of the scene and in our interpretations. Then we can kind of get into the deeper ideas of how do we feel about a helmet rule? Is this a new helmet rule? How many helmet rules are there? All that kind of stuff. So let's start with the most important thing, Ken. Is Embo safe? Is he all right? And what is your thought on Embo's safety?
Happy to report for your sake that Embo is, I think, absolutely safe. I've only seen the movie twice, so we don't have it on pause on our VHS player right now, or VCR, as we used to call them. But I do believe during that scene, Embo collects his money and he's on the way out. He's getting the hell out of Dodge. I think they make a point to say that, not a point in the way of he's like, I will not see helmet removed. Like, he goes, and then they do it. I think he's safe by that regard.
I think that we are shown a shot of Embo turning and walking toward the door for exactly this reason. If it's that what the scene was about, Embo could have just hung out It seems like, at least for Jabba's palace, that's sometimes what bounty hunters do. Like, well, I'm going to take my money, and then you got some drinks, I'm going to hang out. But Embo turns and leaves. So I feel like, didn't want to slow the scene down by showing us Embo, slowly walking all the way out, shutting the door, getting his keys out, getting on his ship, right? I think we wanted the one scene to make it clear that, he left. He's not a part of this deal.
This is reminding me when I'd get into fierce debates on and off air at my old job that, well, in Solo, they didn't even mourn the death of Val and Rio. And I'm like, they took the time to bury the bodies and build little monuments. They mourned them. You just didn't see it for 10 minutes. Like, sorry. No, I agree with you. And I have to wonder, this is a fun speculatory kind of question here too. If there was a moment where like Dave just kind of walked in and nudged John and said, hey, could you do me a favor? Just Embo has to go. I want him to live. I want him to live.
They could have included a shot where Embo's covering his eyes, all sorts of things, where Embo accidentally sees it in a reflection as he's walking out, and they're like, oh no. Anyway, yeah, I think it's a fascinating discussion about the balance between what knowledge does an audience need versus when do you need to slow down and make them feel something. Because we aren't offered in Solo the time to feel it, but we were often offered the knowledge that, they took the time to feel it. They buried the bodies and built some stuff, Yeah, so I think Embo is completely safe. End of episode. That's the most important question, right? Anyway.
We're
done. And then there's this kind of larger question of what is the rule itself? Is it that you can be forgiven for having your helmet removed if you kill those that did it versus you killed all those who saw your face? What do you think? Or do you think it is, one and the same?
Could be one and the same. There's another path I'm going to take here in a second, but to go to this important Creed question, which I believe, and I have to admit, I didn't watch all the episode. There's a review that came out of Mandalorian Grogu, or an article that's going around today, Joseph, as you and I were recording, that starts, the headline is Mandalorian Grogu, Disney effectively killed Star Wars. And the first line of the thing says, let me be clear, I have not seen the Mandalorian Grogu yet. So this is in that vein. I haven't watched Alex Damon talk about it, but this thing broke Alex Damon. He's no longer Star Wars explained. He's GoBots explained now. He's moved off because it is broken. No, I think in terms of if it's part of the creed, I think a little column A, a little column B. You shamed me. You better finish the job, right? If you're gonna take a shot, make sure it's the only one you need. And then also, kind of in the same ballpark, you see my face. I can't have that happen because then the armor is going to get mad at me all over again. If I have, you got to go. And that's part of the creed, if that's the creed.
Yeah, I think the creed is, yes, probably anybody who saw your face. Again, yeah, we don't have the VCR machine as you're talking about, or the Disney Plus machine to rewind and go, exactly how did I almost called him Mr. Djarin. How did Din Djarin phrase that? Did I get in trouble with substitute teacher Mr. Djarin? But I feel like, yes, it's it doesn't break the creed if I kill everybody who saw me. But I also feel like, creed or not, you shamed me. You got to go. And I think specifically for the twins in this circumstance, for this part of Brian Babcock's question, the vengeance is focused on them because I think they are the only living, speaking, sentient beings that are not droids or, bugs crawling on the ground that saw him without his mask on. So I think the vengeance is focused on the twins as both the perpetrators of the shame and the only living beings who saw his face.
Yeah, and this also, end of season 1, IG-11 is the one that's like I can take the mask off. Droids don't count, which is interesting. That brings up a good conversation about droids and the way they're viewed in the Star Wars galaxy. This is Obi-Wan Kenobi's like, yeah, I agree with this. Yeah, in terms of the vengeance being focused on them for this, if this is part of the creed, if it's the so you want to be a Mandalorian pamphlet, and this movie pulled out the third flap that we hadn't seen before. I think that would make sense. If you slug's guts to go.
Yeah. So I think Embo's safe. I think the twins were the targets because they were both the perpetrators and the only face seers. I want to take a moment to review the various helmet removals that we've seen in Mandalorian and see how these rules apply and get your thoughts, Ken. As you just mentioned, droids get a pass. That was what IG-11 successfully argued to Din Djarin, right? He said, "I'm not a living being," which, yep, great. Let's have that moral conversation. But for the time being, Din was like, "Good one. Yes, you can take my helmet off and save my life." So droids don't count. And the rest of all of those fighters on Nal Hutta were droids. Then he takes his helmet off on Morak in season 2, and then again on Moff Gideon's light cruiser to show it to Grogu. So 2 helmet removals in relatively rapid succession in season 2. I think both of those removals were his choice, and I think he was atoning for both when he admitted to the armorer that he took his helmet off and that he had to go bathe in living waters of Mandalore. But just on the whole, who saw him and who died, right? On Morak, I think everybody who saw him with the helmet off probably died in the massive explosion when Mayfeld blew up the Rhydonium. Everyone except Mayfeld, and again, I didn't review this, but in my recent rewatch, Mayfeld did say something kind along the lines of like, "I didn't see anything," and showed this different respect, like because he's giving him crap earlier in the episode, like, "So you're real bendy with this helmet rule. Is it your Mandalorian helmet you can't take off, or is it any helmet? Is it that you have to have a helmet on, or is that I can't see your face?" He's being a jerk about it. But then when he's coming around, he's like, "I respect that it's important to you, and I'm assuring you I didn't see anything." I don't think that's probably an end run around the helmet rule, but I think it is really interesting that it is this idea that it is about shame and respect. So how do you feel about the fact that Din Djarin chose to take it off on Morak, and everyone but Mayfeld, in my opinion, died who saw him, and Mayfeld was respectful about it?
I think respect versus shame, I think, is big. I think also you're right to point out a lot of this ends up with him going, "Forgive me, armor, for I have sinned." She asked, "Did you remove your?" Often, and again, I didn't write down all the quotes, but did you remove your helmet or did you have it removed for you? Kind of vibe. It seems to be a little bit. He chose to do it in this moment. He also chose to do it for a pretty righteous reason, I would think, the mission they were on at the time. And Mayfield lying, I ain't seen nothing here. That's more Brooklyn than Boston, but it could be part of the atonement of also Din going, all right, maybe because I don't want to kill him, and also he didn't yank it off of me. That was my choice. We're gonna overlook this here if it's agreed, but I gotta go atone for it. Also, one more, a helmet removal. Technically, on Sorgan, he takes it off to eat, and he's watching the kids play. And I think if the rule was anyone, that's unfair to the kids because you're right there in an open window.
That's right. If the kid's ball accidentally falls through his window, he's like, "Oh no!" But I mean,
"Hey, mister, can we have our ball back? What are you doing?"
I forgot about the weird, great moment in the Foundling episode in season 3 where there's this burgeoning sense of community and purpose and honor between the Mandalorians, but then Bo-Katan is kind of weirded out that they all have to spread out to eat.
Right.
And, food is in most communities is such a moment of gathering. You got to go hide in the bushes and look away while we eat. Fascinating.
Yeah.
The helmet rules just give and give.
Well, and hey, not for nothing, I don't want to wade too deep into this conversation or force us to go there, but this is a little bit of a culty religious dogma going on from the armor and her clan. Sometimes those kind of things can have, the meanings can be massaged as needed. I would think. So.
Yeah. So my big picture on taking the helmet off on Morak to get the information to save Grogu, and then letting Grogu see his face because that's what poor Grogu needed. I feel like he admitted to both of those, that they were both of his own volition. Armor when he goes back to see the armor at the beginning of season 3, she's like, "And what's worse, it wasn't even removed. You took it off yourself." I
Mhm.
think he told her he took
Mm.
it off both times for the
Mhm.
benefit of the child, and I think it just would have been too comedic if the armor is like, "And you took it off of your own choice twice."
Right.
I think it would have just
Right.
been too comedic. But to me, the
Mhm.
implication was I took it off a couple times to save the kid,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
he's atoning for both. So I don't think he's
Yeah.
like, wait, everyone on Morak died except for Mayfeld, and I don't think it's like he's like, it's on my
Mm.
to-do list to just pop in and kill Mayfeld.
Kill Mayfield. Kill Mayfield.
Yeah.
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 I know. Yeah, I agree with that take there too. Yeah, it's like oops a daisy, mea culpa. I didn't mean to. And
Yeah.
again, I didn't lose any fight. You know,
No.
I didn't lose any fight with this culture based on strength and weapons. Like I kept it on in all those kind of situations.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
Yeah. So let's get into the real heart of Brian's
Mhm.
question about there's the technicality of Embo and who is this rule focused on? But the heart of it is like, how is this helmet rule sitting with us? How do you feel
Mm.
about it? My big picture take is that generally I liked it because it feels like new information. I love the way you phrased it of like, whoops, there's another panel to the brochure.
Yeah.
To me, I
Yeah.
feel like it's a branching tree of questions from the armor. And she says, have you ever moved your helmet? Yep. Okay. Well, that's a trip to the living waters.
Yes.
Has anyone removed it for you? We've never heard a character say yes. So I think the response to that is, did you kill him?
Mm-hmm.
And that's just
Yes.
information that we didn't have before. And now we know if you press 2 on that phone tree conversation, that the next prompt is, did you kill him?
Mm-hmm.
And I know that some people struggle with that or don't enjoy that or need to work through that. But I kind of just enjoyed it as new information and information that makes so much sense for the Mandalorian Creed.
Yeah, I have fun with this stuff, and it's making me think of 2019 as well when we learned, some opposed past, Spice Runner kind of thing, which seemed to be, some would say, in opposition to what we had learned before. But it literally was like, well, yeah, you just learned something new that it is an add-on to the story. It's an addition to the story, and it doesn't counteract anything that we know of him becoming, a New Republic fighter before joining the Resistance. Like to me, that's kind of fun to explore. Like, all right, if you're going to do it, how are you going to do it? Cassian Andor, his home planet, his backstory being changed dramatically and also in subtle ways. And I thought, well, a great way to play. We talk about our news episode, but Mon Mothma delivers a great speech that ain't word for word the one we saw because it's a different speech. You had to do another one. A lot of speeches you got to give. Like, I'm okay with that. It's not. I don't get. I love canon. I love knowing who's who and what's what and what's the map look like and what's the timeline. But I think this is just there's wrinkles to this stuff. And let's not forget this whole thing. The whole helmet thing kind of comes out of John going, what if they never took their helmets off? Well, John, you took yours off when you played the character Pre-Vizsla. Do you remember that? Yeah, interesting. Here, have a Cubano. Let's talk about it. Let's see how we can make that work.
Yeah, and from it we got this fascinating story of different cultures and Children of the Watch. And yeah, I agree with you. I want to talk more about the heart of the helmet issue, but I want to be sure to address this up front because I know that there are people who are bothered by the helmet thing. I want to ask how you feel about this aspect of it. I think this is one of those moments of like, how much can you separate the story from what we know of the practical reality of making the film? Because if you're just watching the story, it's like, oh, they flipped over the pamphlet. There's this next layer of information that we didn't know. But if you're thinking about what we know about the reality of it is, Johnny Favs is making a movie. We need to see Pedro Pascal's face because we want him to do the press tour. We don't want to repeat what's been done before, so we got to get the helmet off some way, and we got to smooth it out without him going, and I got to go back to take another bath. And I can understand how people can feel like, it feels wedged in, and it feels every time we see Din, we have to see Pedro's face, and it's a practical reality. And so there's going to be a new rule to cover the helmet taken off this time. And we're going to get to the, the 88 branching what ifs of taking your helmet off. Like, well, but if it's on a Sunday and you're full, it's okay.
Yeah.
How do you feel about divorcing or separating the in world versus the sort of that sort of crunchy knowledge of we're trying to get to see Pedro's face and how's this going to play out in the future?
I think it's similar to the vibe we were talking about before here. Like, to those out there going, and I've seen the think pieces on it. They just did this so we could see Pedro's face. Yet no shit, Sherlock. That's exactly yes. You're right. Have you ever made a film before? Have you ever made a project like, hey, we need a hallway? Okay, you got the hallway, but guess what? The lighting's different. You got to make that work. Hey, we got this film made, but guess what? You are now having to put Jolt Cola in every one of your scenes. And how does that work? What kind of car does James Bond have to drive? The one that's sponsoring this. This is not a sponsor, but it is a reality. Yes, one of the biggest stars in the world voices his character. We know we need to see his face. We know that it would have been, I thought we were gonna have more time with him without the mask.
Me too.
I absolutely thought that. Yeah, especially because it was like, hey, we're showing you the marketing. You're gonna see him. It would have made some sense, but I don't think it was a schedule issue. It's just it's the character. The character was already established as mask on. So I think again, if you're putting this together, you're in a writer's room. You're jotting down notes at a cafe. I've got to find a way to get Pedro in this mask off. What is a fun way to do that? What if these vile gangsters rip it off of him and bring great shame? That's a great starting point. What do we do with that?
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of how it happens.
Mm-hmm.
How you make these things.
Yeah. I feel the same way, and I totally get yep, we needed to make up a new to us rule, new information to make this idea work. And I will give them the benefit of the doubt that we'll see how it's handled in the future. So great to, I want to be sure to acknowledge that, because I really understand where people are coming from, because I certainly have that sometimes where I have a hard time separating the practical behind the scenes reality of, like you said, well, they needed to put Jolt Cola in this scene. Can I stop thinking about that and think about, oh, actually, they did a really artful job of putting Jolt Cola in the scene, and it's actually really, it adds something, And that's what I want to talk about next, in terms of, let's put aside the Johnny Faz is at the cafe and he's got to come up with something.
Mm-hmm.
What does this helmet removal, and in particular the new rule around it, of you can be forgiven if you kill everyone, the perpetrators and everyone who saw your face, what does that add to this movie and what Din is going through and what the movie's talking about with violence?
Definitely raise some of the stakes that people are saying aren't there, but I'm not here to relitigate this movie right now. And I love this movie so much. I'm just having so much fun with it. I think there's that. And in terms of the conversation around the violence, it is a little bit of I'm not bringing this to you. If you never did that, this result wouldn't have happened, right? We're building on it here, and you could approach it a different way. I also have another angle on it, but feeding into the rest of it. But I'll kick it back to you on the violence talk.
Yeah, I agree. I think it tracks with what Din is going through, and I think there is. I don't think it comes to a conclusion. It's not Clone Wars with a lesson. It's not like the old 80s He-Man cartoons where He-Man would literally tell you what we learned at the end of the I don't think he grows or changes about violence, but I think he has tension about it, because he is perpetrating violence. Weapons are a part of his culture, a part of his religion. It is how he feels purpose. It is how he makes a living, is violence. But he also takes the time to state in the film that using it for entertainment is shameful. Using it in entertainment is wrong, and it's a last resort. He'd rather be putzing around at his little hut on Navarro, teaching Grogu how to take the safety off the Razor Crest, right? The stating that it's a last resort, the comedy line that is full of meaning of I try to avoid violence, is really beautifully true if you track it through the film, of I am coming to these Imperials that we see at the beginning are mercilessly killing people and abusing people and wreaking havoc. He returns that violence to them. He does not want that violence at the Salt Club, but when he's attacked, he responds. And on one hand, the helmet is, I did not want this. You did this to me. And by creed and my own morality, I must respond. And his line when he's going to shoot the Hutts are well, now it's time for you to, Reap what you sowed.
Mm-hmm.
But I also think it so in one way it's like it tracks with the morality of violence that he is espousing. But there's this deeper layer, and I'm not saying the film is making any big statement. I think it's just kind of throwing it on the table and offering you to pick it up and think about it if you want. We've got the line early on where Colonel Ward says, "It's not about revenge." And I think you are offered to consider. Din says violence is a last resort. But is he wanting to kill the Imperials? Is it pride of a completed mission, fear of not getting paid that makes him stay on that risking death to make sure he gets that one? Does it really get messy all the time? And that's why he keeps bringing them in cold rather than warm? And I think the helmet rule is so a part of Mandalorian Creed that it is about domination and submission and shame and honor and violence and revenge. So I think the helmet thing complicates his morality in a delicious way of, I believe he believes that violence is a last resort, but is there a slightly darker part of him that is pulling a little bit toward revenge, and that is familiar and comfortable of, I'm not going to use violence unless you use violence, but when you do, thank you, because I am going to bleep and murder you, and I'm going to enjoy it. Is there a darker part of him that we're being given a little peek into? And again, to be very, very clear, I do not think the film is making some complete, thought-out statement. I think it's throwing us some conflicting information about who this character is and what he wants, and allowing us to sort through it if we choose to.
Love this because I think it ties it a little bit of what I was thinking of another angle on it. It also makes me think of the Hound several times in Game of Thrones saying, "Oh, your father, your nice, honorable father, he's a killer. And he loved being a killer. I'm a killer. We all love being killers." I think there's a little bit of that dance that's going on. You're absolutely right that there is a reason that Colonel Ward is like, all right, messy. Like, and reason Zeb's like, you did it again, buddy. you keep doing this.
Yep.
I don't like violence. Then my angle on it is like, I think obviously the moment when the twins have the helmet yanked off, they make that decision. It is an accidental. It is done. Take the helmet off. I think that does have it's directly from the Creed. They know it for whatever reason, because sometimes we meet people who are like, Mandalorians, I thought you were all missing. They're like, we got it. Page 133 of your brochure says, your training manual says no helmets. But what if it's not an additional flap to the brochure of the Creed? What if Din's response is what you're saying? It's tough talking. It's revenge. Yep, you got me. You yanked my helmet off. It's shame. Now I'm going to kill you, and I'm going to phrase it in a cool bar fight way. Well, you did it. Now you have to die. That's pretty threatening. It's also pretty fun. If that's part of his nature, I kind of have this angle of he wasn't adding to the Creed. He was saying, I'm going to kill you because I want to now.
Yeah, you're right. I feel like I have heard people, and maybe had a conversation with somebody about, maybe we talked about it on the live stream, about the perspective that it isn't a part of the Creed that's just like, well, I'm gonna kill you. Do you like it more as a Creed, or just something Din was like, I made up a new rule?
Based out of a real thing and a real Creed, and absolutely. Yeah, I could see it being an official thing. Yeah, we're having fun, but I just in that moment too, I was like, what if it's that? What if he's just like, you got words for me? I'm gonna throw fists. Here, let's do this.
Yeah. So in a fascinating wrinkle to whether it is a part of the Creed, I tend to feel it is an official part of the Creed that they didn't know. But I'd also be fascinated to learn that, like, Mando was like, you know what? I've grown, I've evolved. It's time to add some new things to the Creed. If you kill everybody, it's fine. I'm gonna submit that at our next council meeting for additions to the Creed. They have council meetings going, is this the way? With a question mark, and then they get to decide.
Dude.
So
it's fun. This is fun stuff. This is the fun stuff. I like this stuff.
This is the stuff that's like, my God, we I like talking about box office, and I like talking about interviews with creators and all that. But in some ways, this is the heart of why I want to talk about Star Wars, of like the ideas and where they take you. I have one other question for you, but any other big picture
Mhm.
thoughts on the helmet removal in The Mandalorian and Grogu?
No, I love the moment. I think it's great. I think it's yanked off with a bit of energy from those around him as the twins look at it with glee. I think it's what I would want. And again, if you're going to go with the cynical route of the hand to get Pedro in it, then what a way to do it. I really love that scene, and I love what he says, and I love Pedro's face in that moment too.
Oh, it's such a great mixture of wounded and furious,
Mm-hmm.
you know? And I kind of like
Mm-hmm.
that he doesn't try to fight it because he's just like, he's an experienced fighter and he knows like,
Mm-hmm.
I'm not gonna be able to stop it, so I'm not gonna shame myself by dancing around, you know?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I'll deal with this after the fact.
Yeah, and we and others are saying, hey, this is also Star Wars going directly to the action genre. Space Wick is one thing I've said several times, and I think it's reminds me of like a history of violence or something like that, or Liam Neeson calling someone on a cell phone to say he has skills that are going to hurt you. Like this is kind of has that vibe. Like whether it's Creed or not, that moment, Pedro Pascal is playing the violence of the moment. He's playing. I know what's going to happen to you. It's a good moment.
It's a great moment. So here's my final question for you. To both have fun and address the anxiety of how many new rules might we learn as if they announce tomorrow Mandalorian and Grogu 2, how would you like to see Din Djarin take the helmet off? Because the audiences demand Pedro Pascal's face. How would you like to see him take the helmet off next time?
If Pedro Pascal makes you think of Oberyn Martell from season 4 of Game of Thrones every time you see it, like that we've talked a lot about the violence and the cool, the fight. What about the other side? That mask comes off for loving, and maybe he has to wrestle with that. I know there's, he's had we see some people in his past, we see the, forget her name on Sorgan, I apologize, but, wanting to take the mask off, but maybe it's the other way. We've explored the mask and its relation to violence, but now the mask in relation to love.
There's that little joke about it with his the crew he used to run with in that season 1 episode 2 of like the implication that he had a fling. And I think Mayfield's like, yeah, did he take the helmet off? And that's not answered.
Not answered.
I think people would lose their mind if it was like, I've seen you without your face, now you're shamed. And he's like, it's okay if I kiss everybody who saw my face. It's kiss or kill.
Kiss or kill. Kiss or kill. Your choice.
Really get the James Bond vibes. Mr. Kiss, Kiss, Bang, Bang. Indeed.
Yeah.
Din Djarin.
That's great.
Mr. Space, Kiss, Kiss, Bang, Bang.
The Mandalorian returns in Kiss or Kill.
Kiss or kill. It's a show about a father. Anyway, that's great. I'm not going to top that. But in all sincerity, what I want, because we've played with it, that knowledge of like, okay, well, sometimes he tips it up to drink the bone broth with Grogu and that. But yeah, when Sorgan's like, well, they gave me a whole chicken. I got to tuck in. Like, I'm taking my helmet off, They take, and again, in season 3, they take the helmets off to eat. Yeah. I would love to see Din, and that's jokey, but I would love to see, like, he needs to take it off for eating or get sick. Again, joking. But I'm so interested in his own relationship with his face when he's alone and it's not a conflict. Does he touch his face? We don't have a lot of mirrors in Star Wars, but if he's like working on a piece of the Razor Crest, does he avert his eyes from his own face? I would love to see how he is helmet off and alone and how he feels about it.
You're pitching this "Who am I?" scene. I love that. I could just see him catching the reflection, and it's a moment where no one's watching, and the mask is off, and he touches it. Sometimes when we touch, but yeah, that actually would be a great launch point to an interesting exploration of who he is, with or without it. And again, he, in my mind, he could choose. Bo-Katan could have one good late night conversation with him where he's like, you know what, I think I want out. I don't want to be in space Scientology anymore. I want something different.
Yeah,
he can break from that. You know?
But I mean, I think a lot of us were wondering if he would, but on that recent season 3 rewatch, it seems pretty clear. Like he believes in the way. This is what he wants,
Mm-hmm.
and that is eased by the fact that they are not forcing it on everybody else anymore. It is
Right.
not, this is what Mandalorians do, and you're not a Mandalorian if you don't do it. Now it's, hey, I'm not going door to door telling other Mandalorians they can't take their helmet off anymore.
Mm-hmm.
But it still matters to me, and so I'm going to live my life the way I want in Bo-Katan, Axe Woes. You live your life the way you want to. And that does change it for me.
I know we're trying to wrap up here, but you give me the idea. But this is fun. This is how I love talking about Star Wars. Like if the story continues in any way, shape, or form, and we age up Grogu a little bit, and I might choose to never do that, but if that happens and it comes to the time where he is to take the creed and put on the mask, what if Din Djarin is like, is this what I want for him? Did that work for me? Do I see it a different way now? I've had conversations with Bo-Katan. Is there a different path forward? And then everyone will be like, well, they couldn't put a mask on Grogu as marketing reasons. Then a lot of the cynicism will show up in that way. But in terms of just a starting point for a conversation, do I want this exact life for my kid here as I had, or do I want to look at it in a different way?
Yeah, I forgot in season 3 that they talk a lot about he's not old enough to speak the creed yet, and that line of he doesn't talk. What if it isn't an age thing? But like, can't take the creed because I'm not going to speak. Right. This is my second final and truly final question thought. The other thing that I think has not been discussed enough, or I might have missed it being busy, in terms of Din Djarin's own relationship with his face, he changes his facial hair because the first time he takes it off, no mustache. I think he's just, stubble in season 2, and in Mandalorian Grogu, beautifully maintained and coiffed mustache, not a beard. I mean, unless it's part of the creed that you can only grow a mustache but not a full beard, he spends enough time with his face to go, I think I'm going back to mustache only.
It's mustache season. I'm not an Orthodox Mandalorian. I don't have to keep any facial hair. You're right.
And again,
his hair too.
Pedro realities to that. But anyway, all right.
It's realities.
Well, we'll talk more of Helmet. Thank you, Brian Babcock, for this fun, very practical question, but opened the door to lots of discussion of, whoa, what does it actually mean, and how does it work in the story for you?
Wonderful. Thank you. If you want to ask us questions, the best way to do it, join us, support us on Patreon at patreon.com/ForceCenter. You can find us on social media at ForceCenter Pod. It's a podcast. We are available in a lot of spots. Just search. You'll find us. You get merch at Fourth Wall T Public. I also want to say, I mentioned Alex Damon changing Star Wars Explained into GoBots Explained. Check out his new video on why Psykill is just as dangerous as Megatron and how Leader One is the Optimus Prime of his galaxy. Fascinating videos from Alex on GoBots Explained. You can check me out at Napzok.com for more information, or you can go to theblathering.live to get more information on my live show that I do 3-4 times a week on my own channel. You, sir.
Yeah, you can follow me on all the social media at Joseph Scrimshaw and look for updates on the horror film I made with a bunch of cool folks called Dead Media. And also, hey, if you want to see some more film work, I've got a bunch of short films adding up to almost an hour of watching time on my YouTube channel. I'd love more subscribers and more ForceCenter friends over there. So check it out. You can just search for Joseph Scrimshaw on YouTube.
There you go. That is it. Helmets on, helmets off. We'll see you next time here on ForceCenter.